Blog Talk Radio.
Today's franchise interview shout-out goes to the Source Direct. Source Direct is an inventor's one-stop shop. Source Direct eliminates the disconnect in dealing with different companies from each phase of development and marketing. Instead, Source Direct can manage every stage of the process from the drawing board to the customer. Go to thesourcedirect.net and find out how you can get started. That's www.thesourcedirect.net.
Franchise interviews. From Easton, Pennsylvania to Sydney, Australia, you're listening to Franchise Interviews. Franchise Interviews. Welcome to Franchise Interviews. Franchise Interviews has been giving an up-close, behind-the-scenes look at franchising and entrepreneurship. Listen to interviews with franchisers, franchisees, franchise authors, franchise experts, and attorneys. And now, welcome your host, Marty McDermott, and Franchise Interviews.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to a very special edition of Franchise Interviews, where for over 10 years now, we've been asking the frantrepreneurs one-on-one. I'm your host, Marty McDermott. I'm the president of Franchise Interviews, and we have a great show today. We're meeting with Nick Friedman, the founder and president of College Hunks Hauling Junk and Moving Franchise Opportunity. And College Hunks Hauling Junk is the fastest-growing junk hauling and moving franchise in America. College Hunks Hauling Junk has been named one of the fastest-growing companies in America by Inc. and has made Entrepreneur Magazine's list of top franchise opportunities for 5 years in a row and counting. We're going to talk to Nick about that in just a moment on Franchise Interviews. So stick around because we have a great show.
The Stone Coat Franchise Opportunity. Are you looking for a unique and lucrative franchise opportunity? If so, take a look at Stone Coat. With a patented process which creates a true stone finish on almost any wall or ceiling, Stone Coat is a true game-changing product in the multi-billion-dollar construction industry. Stone Coat is applied faster, cleaner, and cheaper than conventional quarried stone, which saves both time and money. With advantages in remodel and new construction of both residential and commercial projects, Stone Coat is a true crossover product. The Stone Coat franchise opportunity provides a low startup cost, low operating expenses, comprehensive training, ongoing support, and no royalty payments. For more information on the Stone Coat franchise opportunity, go to www.stonecoatfranchise.com. That's www.stonecoatfranchise.com, or call us at 972-380-2700. That's 972-380-2700.
Franchise Teacher.
Would you like to know how to franchise your concept or grow your franchise business?
Meet the experts at Franchise Teacher.
The goal of Franchise Teacher is to teach, coach, consult, and advise. The team of experts at Franchise Teacher will evaluate your business model and present you with a winning business strategy.
Franchise Teacher will help you decide whether or not your concept works and if it's franchisable. Franchise Teacher is proud to have over 30 years of experience in franchising as both franchisees and franchisors.
Franchise Teacher are developers of over a dozen franchise systems, which include brick and mortar as well as home-based concepts of nearly 3,000 combined franchise locations.
Whether you need to add more units or get more customers, Franchise Teacher can help. We will teach.
Franchise Teacher will help you learn our proven system.
Coach.
Franchise Teacher will help you provide a game plan to succeed.
Consult.
Franchise Teacher will make sure you stay on track.
And advise.
Franchise Teacher will help you learn from our over 30 years of experience in franchising as both franchisees and franchisors. Take advantage of our free, no-obligation phone consultation. Simply go to franchiseteacher.com or call us at 561-385-3032.
That's franchiseteacher.com or call us at 561-385-3032.
Hi, Hi, this is Connie McDermott, Administrative Assistant for Franchise Interviews, LLC, and you're listening to Franchise Interviews.
Franchise Interviews. From Easton, Pennsylvania to Sydney, Australia, you're listening to Franchise Interviews. Franchise Interviews.
Hi, everyone, and welcome back to a very special edition of Franchise Interviews, where for over 10 years now, we've been asking the frantrepreneurs of one-on-one. I'm your host, Marty McDermott. I'm the president of Franchise Interviews, and as we were saying earlier, we have a great show today. We're meeting with Nick Friedman, the founder and president of College Hunks Hauling Junk and Moving Franchise Opportunity. And College Hunks Hauling Junk is the fastest growing junk hauling and moving franchise in America. Hi, Nick. How you doing? Welcome to the show.
I'm doing great, Marty. Thanks so much for having me.
It's my pleasure, Nick. I feel like I know you, because I've been following your franchise for such a long time now, and I think it's such an amazing story. We always like to ask our guests, where are you calling from this morning, Nick?
I'm in Tampa, Florida, sunny Tampa, Florida, which is the home of our franchise headquarters and national call center that books all the appointments for our franchise owners.
Oh, fantastic. Is it hot down there today, Nick?
It's hot and muggy, and then it rains about midway through the afternoon every day. It's kind of typical Florida summer.
It is. That's fantastic. I was saying earlier, Nick, this is, it's a great story. When we're talking about College Hunks Hauling and Junk, you could really go back to, the beginning, and your friendship that you had with Omar. Maybe we could talk a little bit about the history of College Hunks Hauling and Junk.
Yeah, absolutely. So my business partner and I actually went to high school together. We met in the 10th grade, actually in detention of all places. And we were always brought up to kind of follow the traditional career path. You got to get good grades. You got to get into college. You got to get a degree and get a job. And so we did manage to get into college. And the summer before our senior year of college, we were back home for summer vacation. And Omar's mom had this beat-up cargo van from her small furniture store. And she told Omar and I that summer, why don't you guys go do something with this? So we were sitting around the living room table just trying to come up with ways to make the phone ring. And we said, hey, well, what about College Hunks Hauling Junk? And we all just kind of busted out laughing at first. And then we kind of looked at each other and said, that's got kind of a catchy ring to it. So we put it on computer printout flyers and put it around the mailboxes that summer. And people had a need for the service. They thought the name was catchy. So that's kind of how the original idea was born. And then obviously significant amount of events have taken place since then. We went back to school our senior year of college and wrote a business plan and won first prize out of about 150 entries. So it gave us a little more confidence in the idea. And then when we graduated from college, we got corporate jobs, felt pretty unfulfilled with it and said, let's make this a full-time gig. So we've been doing that ever since. That's
fantastic. How do you typically describe College Hunks Hauling and Junk franchise to a prospective franchisee, Nick? Like if you were at a franchise show, and someone came up to your booth, I'm sure you get the question a lot. How do you typically respond?
Sure. So basically at the surface level, we provide trucks and we provide labor to homeowners and businesses that need stuff moved, either need stuff hauled away to be properly recycled, donated, or disposed of, or to be actually packed up and moved, across town or across state. So basically at the surface level, we are a moving and junk removal service. But beneath the layers, we describe ourselves as a very purpose-driven, values-based, and socially conscious organization. So we're not just moving people's stuff, but we're moving people's lives. We're making a positive impact in the lives that we touch. We're building leaders in the young men and women who we hire, the college folks that are doing the heavy lifting. So our franchise owners are very much like the professors or the coaches. There's a mentorship component to the people that they're bringing on board. And then we're very socially engaged in terms of we actually donate 2 healthy meals to Feeding Children Everywhere organization for every completed move or junk haul. So what that does is it really creates a level of community engagement, franchise owner engagement, and then employee engagement and loyalty that allows the business to really stand apart. So it's a bright and colorful brand. It's a catchy, quirky name. It's bright colors. But behind that is really a service experience that creates a level of loyalty in the community for our franchise owners. So that's really how we would describe it to a prospective franchisee.
It's a fantastic service too, Nick. It's very important. From what I understand too, it's been a while since we've moved to Pennsylvania. It's been about 12 years now, but it's a very stressful situation, isn't it? When someone's moving, isn't it? I know it's like in the top, isn't it? Like as far as stressful situations.
It is. So moving is actually number 3 next to death and divorce as one of the stressful life events. And So we have a very lofty opportunity to remove that stress from the people that are moving.
Right.
And in many cases, where somebody's moving, there's also, in some cases, of death or divorce involved, or maybe a downsizing situation. And so, there's a great opportunity there. Also, clutter and junk that piles up in people's homes that we also remove. That's been shown to create anxiety and stress with the homeowners or the businesses. So you see the relief on people's faces when your team clears out their garage. Now they can park the car in the garage again. So, I mentioned at the beginning, when we just started with a beat-up cargo van, we now have over 100 franchises around the country. And it's really amazing to see the impact that it's had for our communities, our clients, our franchise owners, and our team members.
We had Michael Gerber on our show 3 times in over 10 years, Nick, and I know has he been an influence on your franchise and your life as well?
Absolutely. So when we first started the business, we were doing all the work ourselves. We were making all the typical mistakes that an entrepreneur makes, and so we were driving the truck, we were answering the phones, we were hauling the junk. We had the 800 number routed to our cell phones, so people would call the 800 number to complain about erratic driving, and I'd be the one in the driver's seat, answering the phone on the other end, apologizing, saying, we don't condone that type of driving in our company. We'll tell those guys to be safer on the road. So we started burning out, and one of our mentors recommended Michael Gerber's book, The E-Myth Revisited.
Yeah.
We read the book, and it was like a lightning bolt hit us. We needed to start working on the business, not in the business. We needed to start creating systems and processes so we could have a second truck, let alone one day a second location. And that was really the framework and foundation for us to be able to franchise our business.
Right.
And actually, we had the opportunity to meet Michael Gerber at a Inc. magazine conference a few years later. And made a connection there, and actually he authored the foreword for the book that Omar and I co-authored called Effortless Entrepreneur. So we were able to get our sort of inspirational mentor to even write the foreword for our book. So that was pretty cool. So he's been a huge influence, obviously on the franchise industry, small business as a whole, but certainly on our business. We wouldn't be here if it weren't for having read his book.
That's fantastic. It's amazing how often we've heard that story on our show in over a decade, Nick. And I think actually this week, I think it's his 81st birthday. I'm pretty sure it's this week. I have it somewhere in my calendar. But he's amazing, isn't he? I mean, he's an amazing man. I just really admire him. And just the impact that he's had on franchising in general. I mean, particularly with College Hunks Hauling and Junk. So I think that's fantastic. How has technology played a role in your business today, Nick? I mean, like in the beginning, it was probably very basic, as you were talking about. What role does technology play today in the franchise?
Technology is actually a competitive advantage of ours currently. We've developed a proprietary software that makes it easier for the client to schedule their appointment. They actually can, almost like an Uber-type feature, see where the trucks are and route to their home and gives them some convenience and transparency elements to it. We have an awesome routing and a metrics program within that. But you're right. When we started, it was a notebook paper and ultimately, eventually, an Excel spreadsheet. But we were, and actually when we started, social media didn't even really exist. So you didn't have to worry about, the client engagement, or you didn't have to be as concerned about online reviews. But now we've tried to weave in and leverage the advantages that technology gives everybody today, which is, connectivity and which is convenience and access and access to information. So that's really the way we've tried to leverage it, and we've been able to leverage it to our advantage in the recent years. And we're going to continue to make that a key driver for our business, so that we can separate ourselves from maybe the independent movers and junk haulers that might get started out there, or even our competitors in the franchise space.
That's terrific. You've had a number of accolades over the years too, Nick. I mean, it's a whole list. To give all of them would be impossible. But I know you've been voted the fastest growing company. You were in Inc. magazine. Entrepreneur magazine frequently has you as like the franchise opportunities in their publication. What is that all attributed to? It seems like there's a culture too. At College Hunks Hauling and Junk. In studying the business model, would you say?
Yes, absolutely. So culture is critical to any organization, and we've been able to, I think, develop a really world-class organization that is, creates a lot of vibrancy within it. And ultimately, if you can develop a great culture internally as an organization, your team members and employees are going to be happy. They're going to be delivering a positive experience for the actual end user, the customer. And I think that's been kind of the critical piece to some of the different accolades that we've received. There's a little bit of, buzz behind the story and magic behind the name and the color scheme, but because we can back it up with actual, employee experience and customer experience, I think that's what's created some of the media attention, some of the TV appearances and news articles that have taken place over the years. There was another book we read early on called The Purple Cow by Seth Godin, and he talks about if you're driving down a country road and you see a field of brown cows, you keep driving because you've seen that before. But if there's a purple cow, you're going to pull over and you're going to take pictures of it. You're going to put it on social media. You're going to tell your friends and neighbors about it. And so really what that means, he's saying you got to be remarkable. You got to figure out a way to stand out. So obviously with a name like College Hunks Hauling Junk and the colors, the bright orange and green, the brand itself sizzles, but we've got to have some stake within that, and we believe our stake is the company culture, our core values, our company purpose. That gets people, motivated to want to make our vision a reality and not just come in and, for the junk haulers or the movers, just move people's stuff, or for our call center agents, just answer the phone. We want people to be passionate about what they're doing. So I think those are the things that have set us apart in an industry, quite frankly, where, anybody could grab a truck and put a logo on it. So we've got to really do some intentional things to set ourselves apart. I think that's what's been the key.
Your industry, Nick, one of the pieces of advice we've been giving to our listeners over the last decade is, to look towards the industry. This is a pretty big industry, right? I don't know what the numbers are, but are there any numbers as far as how big the industry actually is?
It is. So we've done some studies and found that the local moving and junk removal industry combined is approximately 11 to 12 billion with a B,
That's
$billion.
Incredible.
And, so there's a lot of market share out there. There's really no major 800-pound gorilla that owns a big chunk of it, which means, it's I think, a fragmented industry that does have a lot of mediocre service expectations and service delivery. So that makes it ripe for opportunity. If you can, provide a consistent brand experience, a consistent service experience, you're going to create that loyalty. And I always emphasize what I call the 3 R's: repeat business, referral business, and reputation online. And if you can really capture and master the loyalty from the community with those 3 R's, the business is going to grow and flourish, and you're going to capture market share. So we don't think we've even scratched the surface yet as a brand in the markets that we do service, but we do think there's a huge opportunity for us to do so in this industry.
One of the questions I'd like to ask someone like yourself when we have you on the show, Nick, is, what's been, and it's a tough question, one of the most interesting things that's happened to you since launching the business? I mean, I'm sure you have 100 stories, so to narrow it down to one is probably pretty tough, but does anything stand out, since you've launched it?
One of the most memorable moments was actually we appeared on the very first episode of the very first season of Shark Tank on ABC.
Yes, I saw that.
And this was shortly after the recession, so we were still kind of grinding our way through it. We had maybe 5 or 6 franchises in our system, and the recession in the housing market had crashed, and so we were worried if we were going to be able to make it through. And we had seen an ad in Inc. magazine looking for people to pitch pitch businesses for a TV show. And so we went on there, and we were actually at the time trying to figure out ways to diversify our income stream. So we were pitching a sister company. We were going to call it College Foxes Packing Boxes. And it was just an idea at the time, kind of silly, and in reality it never ended up working. But one of the sharks, Robert, made us an investment. He wanted equity in College Hunks as his collateral, and we made the hard decision to actually turn down that offer. And we didn't know what to expect going into the show because we had never seen it before. But what an experience to look back on, and certainly memorable. It reruns every now and again on CNBC on their their reruns, and so that was certainly stands out in my mind as one of those sort of wow moments of business ownership, where we were on national TV, and it's a show now that's been become hugely popular. Sort of, I think, made entrepreneurship kind of at the forefront of pop culture. So that certainly stands out for me as one of those sort of unique and memorable moments in our business's history.
What the majority of our listeners, we call them, Nick, we call them aspiring frantrepreneurs. What types of characteristics do you look for in your franchisees?
What I like to say is there's 4 F's when considering a franchise, which is also, I guess, starts with a letter F. So, there's 4 F's that come out of franchise. And I think this is what a prospective franchise should think of when they're considering what franchise they want to pursue. And this is, quite frankly, I think what franchisors should consider when they're evaluating a prospective franchisee. So the first F is fit. Do they fit? In other words, do they have transferable skills that can make them effective at this business? Have they done anything in their prior professional or personal lives that would make them be successful in this type of business? The second piece is the family side. In other words, does their family support them in them pursuing this endeavor, whether it's their husband or wife or kids or parents? Do they believe in them? Because you don't want things to get tough in their inner circle to say, I told you so. You want them to, kind of cheer them on to get through it. The financial piece is important. In other words, are they capitalized to be able to invest in the opportunity, and do they have realistic financial expectations? And then the last F is the fun factor. Can we have fun working with this individual? Franchising is very much like a partnership, even though that's not typically called that. So you got to have, an alignment of vision and values to be able to enjoy working together. So that's really what we look for. We want people that believe in the secret sauce that we've already developed. We don't want somebody to come tell us that they think it should be done differently. We want them to tell us that they believe in what we've created. And sure, we would, want to continuously improve and encourage ideas, but not, we want folks that believe in the system and are going to execute the system rather than trying to shortcut success by doing it, doing it their own way. And I think that's, really no different in our system than any other franchise model that is going to be successful long term. They need to really take into account those factors.
That's great, Nick. We have this great quotes in franchising podcast. Anytime we hear, Michael Gerber's been in there a couple of times, but we're going to put that one in there because I haven't heard that in over a decade, and I think that's great advice to our listeners. It's really fantastic because it's true. I mean, you could really, your business, you could teach to anybody, couldn't you? I mean, pretty much, but it's interesting in putting those factors in there, like family support, and even fun. I haven't heard that, but it should be an enjoyable business. And, because it is a stressful situation for the customers, I guess you got to be able to put a smile on your customer's face, don't you?
Absolutely. And I mean, as you know, there's over 3,000 franchise opportunities out there. So, what's going to separate one from the other? It's got to be something that you can enjoy. And I guess I'll grab another F out of there. I'm on a roll here. Fulfillment. Is it something that, we're going to be fulfilled doing day in and day out? Because I think franchising is a lot like a gym membership. If you join the gym, you've got fitness goals. You're getting access to all types of equipment, personal trainers, coaches, workout groups, but you still got to go and show up and do the work. So if you buy a franchise, you're getting access to the business model in a box. You're getting access to trainers, coaches, fellow franchisees that you can, hold each other accountable with, but you still got to show up and put in the effort to execute that business model. So that's where I think those factors come into play.
Once you decide that, you do like them, and they like you, Nick, and there is a fit, what is the training like? I mean, do they typically come to Florida for training? How does that work?
Yes. So we do a week-long training at our headquarters in Tampa, and it's very interactive and hands-on and engaging. And it's really a train-the-trainer type model because I would say majority, if not all of our franchise owners, we never want them to really ever step foot on the truck. They're working on the business from day one, not in it. So we want them to have the mindset of I'm hiring the college guys to do the heavy lifting. I'm training these guys to be great representatives of my brand when they show up into people's houses to move their stuff. So that's really the way our training is focused on, is training our franchisees to be mentors and coaches and leaders that develop a team within their market to go and provide a great experience for the customers. So it's a week-long training. We start with just kind of an introduction to the brand and the culture, and then we go into the technical things like hiring and training, marketing and sales, the technical aspects of teaching their guys how to load and move items, and the IT side of the business and our call center and how they interact with that component of the business as well. So it's a week-long in-house, and then we actually provide field training within the first 3 months. We send out a ramp-up coach, we call them, to spend 2 or 3 days with our new franchise owners to make sure their sales and marketing is tuned in properly, to make sure they're executing the model that they learned at training. And, of course, we do ongoing coaching calls, webinars. We do an annual conference. We do other field visits throughout the year. So it really never training never stops. It's
That's
an
great.
ongoing process. It's not an event.
That's so important. You and Omar are working more on the business instead of in the business, but you know what a typical day is like because you were doing it for a long time, Nick. How would you describe a typical day for a College Hunks Hauling Junk franchisee?
So a typical franchisee is going to be sort of like I said, the head coach or the general manager of their team. So they're going to get up in the morning, they're going to go to the office, they're going to print out the job sheets for that day, meet their crew that morning, and give them their assignments for the day. So they'll give them the keys, they'll give them the clipboard, and they'll give them the job sheets. So the team will go out to do their work. And the franchise owner is then going to be, checking in with the team throughout the day, but really going out try to build more relationships with real estate agents, property managers, assisted living facilities, channel partners that could use our service on a regular basis. So that's kind of the activities that we want our franchise owners doing is networking and building relationships. It's not a sales role because you're not selling something they need today, but it's really sort of a relationship building role. And again, they might spend an hour during the day recruiting and hiring more team members to make sure they keep the bench deep and keep a field of A players that they can train and send out to be the movers and haulers. So really, I would say hiring and training and coaching is one key hat that the franchise owner wears, and then networking and relationship building in the community is probably the other key hat that the franchise owner wears, and that's what a typical day might look like, is sending the crew off to do their work, and then going out and building those relationships or recruiting more team members to continue to grow with the business.
That's terrific. I know you and Omar do a lot of, planning, and looking towards, the future of the franchise. What are College Hunks Hauling and Junk's plans for the future, Nick? I mean, where do you see the organization maybe 3 to 5 years down the road?
Sure. Great question. So, we expect to actually have more growth here in the next 3 years than we did in the first 12.
Wow.
And really that's a testament to our team and to our franchise owners that we have in the system. So we've got about 100 franchisees currently. We should have 200 within the next 3 years. And our system-wide revenue, currently is right hovering around $80 million for this year, or should be around $80 million for this year, which will translate to an average of per franchise of close to $1 million in top-line sales. The majority of our franchise owners might own 2 or 3 zones. So we really want to drive our per unit revenue up to $1 million per zone. That's where we think we can get it from an organic growth perspective. So, that's really just the focus, is continuing to invest in brand development, continuing to invest in converting the leads that come through, and maximizing the service delivery. That's our vision. We don't want to get distracted with new shiny objects. We want to stay focused and continue to execute to maximize the opportunity of the model that we have in front of us.
That's terrific. You must get the question a lot too. It's interesting because there's a story behind it too, Nick. And I'm sure you get the question a lot. Of working with Omar, because he was your friend before all of this actually happened. What's that experience like? I mean, working with a good friend. It is a blessing, a true blessing that we've been best friends since high school. And business partners for over a decade. And so I've known him for almost a little over 20 years. Wow.
From time to time, we're told that we bicker like an old married couple, but that's because we've been around with this business for so long. I think the key for any partnership has been that our vision and our values have always been in alignment, and we've always been able to communicate that to each other in a way where even if we disagree on a tactic or a strategy here or there, we're able to communicate enough to get back and just get back to focus and get back to the vision and the path that we're on. So it's been a lot of fun to be able to have that journey with somebody who started out as a friend. I know a lot of times you hear horror stories about family and friends that kind of break up due to the business stresses that take place of entrepreneurship. But we've been, I guess, some of the lucky ones to be able to navigate through it. But I really do credit the vision and values being in alignment, and the fact that we communicate so openly and trust each other so openly that we've never had a breakdown in those key pillars of the relationship.
What's the best way for our listeners, Nick, to get more information on becoming a franchisee or even the service in general for College Hunks Hauling and Junk? I mean, is there any websites that you'd like them to go to?
Absolutely. So we have all of our information on collegehunksfranchise.com. That's collegehunksfranchise.com. And, we've got some great reports that help illustrate the industry and the opportunity behind this business model. So would love for the listeners to come check us out.
That's fantastic. I really enjoyed having you on the show, Nick. As I said, I've been following you, so I feel like I know you a bit, and following your franchise, so it's a privilege and an honor for me to finally have you on the show. And, I'd love to have you guys back as you continue to grow, because I think you have a wonderful franchise opportunity.
Absolutely. Marty, thanks for what you're doing for the franchise industry, and appreciate the opportunity.
You're welcome. It's been my pleasure, Nick, and we'll be right back with more franchise interviews. Coming up on segment 2, you're going to hear what every frantrepreneur needs to know before buying a franchise. We're going to play a clip from our popular Great Quotes in Franchising podcast right here on Franchise Interviews.
Are you one of those special people who are willing to go after your dreams and goals? Are you ready to fulfill that dream of owning your own business with the security of a proven brand? The opportunity to take control of your future and own a Rita's Italian Ice franchise is within your reach.
Rita's is seeking success-oriented individuals who are ready to make a change in their life, and Rita's offers unparalleled training and support to assure your success. And did you know the frozen treat industry is a recession-proof industry, and there are Rita's in 23 states currently with 540 stores open. Rita's Italian Ice has been around for 25 years and is listed as a top-performing franchise by the Wall Street Journal.
Now here's the really good part. Rita's Italian Ice is a unique and amazing taste treat. It's smoother than a snow cone, and it combines ice with real fresh fruit. The real fruit adds dramatically to the taste, and it comes in over 40 flavors. The ice and fruit are mixed on site and made fresh daily, and it is delicious.
You'll want to know more about this exciting and successful franchise opportunity. Go to www.ownaritas.com and get all your questions answered. That's www.ownaritas.com to take control of your dreams and future today. You don't want to wait any longer to be a part of this adventure. www.ownaritas.com.
Franchisers, are you looking to reach aspiring entrepreneurs looking to buy a franchise? Are you looking to reach a highly educated audience on franchising? For over 8 years, Franchise Interviews has been giving an up-close, behind-the-scenes look at franchising and entrepreneurship through our website, franchiseinterviews.com, where you can hear and read interviews as well as get tips from some of the most successful sources in franchising. Our weekly franchise radio show, where each week you get to hear a new interview with franchisers, franchisees, franchise authors, franchise experts, and attorneys, and our podcast, Great Quotes in Franchising. For more information, go to franchiseinterviews.com or call us at 610-905-2919. That's 610-905-2919.
Hi, this is Connie McDermott, Administrative Assistant for Franchise Interviews, LLC, and you're listening to Franchise Interviews.
Franchise Interviews. From Easton, Pennsylvania to Sydney, Australia, you're listening to Franchise Interviews. Franchise Interviews.
Hi everyone, this is Marty McDermott from Franchise Interviews, and welcome to another edition of Great Quotes in Franchising, where each podcast you get to hear a great quote in franchising. You know, Don and I have been hosting Franchise Interviews now for almost 2 years, with 100 shows under our belt, and during that time frame we've had some incredible quotes from the guests that have been on our show. If you're a frequent listener to our weekly radio show, then you know what fans Don and I are of the great Michael Gerber, author of the very successful E-Myth Revisited and Awakening the Entrepreneur Within. What's even more amazing is how often Michael's name has come up from our guest in the past 2 years. So you're going to hear from the great Michael Gerber in just a moment. And for the first time on Blog Talk Radio, Franchise Interviews is giving franchisors a unique opportunity to sponsor our weekly radio show. You can have a professionally recorded commercial run on our live as well as archive shows. And here's a quick message from our sponsor, and then again the great Michael Gerber. So enjoy.
Franchise Interviews. For over 2 years now, Franchise Interviews has been giving you an up-close, behind-the-scenes look at franchising and entrepreneurship.
Through our website, franciseinterviews.com, where you can hear and read interviews as well as get tips from some of the most successful sources in franchising.
And our weekly franchise radio show, where each week you get to hear a new interview with franchisors, franchisees, franchise authors, experts, and attorneys.
And our free franchise newsletter, which is a must-read for anyone looking to buy a franchise.
And don't forget to listen to our podcast, Great Quotes in Franchising. For more information, go to franchiseinterviews.com or call us at 610-905-2919.
That's 610-905-2919.
Which, by the way, I'm now reading again for the second time. I recommend everybody out there, it's been a while since they've read the E-Myth, to read it again. It's really a great little refresher because people seem to forget about things over time, Michael.
I've got guys, I swear, Don, who tell me they pull out the E-Myth Revisited every year. Mm-hmm. One gentleman I spoke to, the founder of an extraordinary company, 1-800-GOT-JUNK, mm-hmm. who's a franchisor.
Right.
He credits the E-Myth with the creation of his company, and he credits the E-Myth with the continued vitalization of his company and the growth of his company. They now have a few more than 300 franchisees around the world. The guy is less than 40. He's the CEO of this company. He started by driving a truck, picking up junk, read the book, read the E-Myth Revisited, and suddenly saw the light. And the product of that is a company which last year did $147 million in gross revenue and has the expectation of reaching $1 billion in revenue in the next 8 years. So the man's on path, and he takes the E-Myth out every year and reads it again and insists that every one of his management team reads the book. And in fact, I'm the keynote at his annual event in March. So I'll be in Vancouver addressing 1-800-GOT-JUNK.
Right. The show we had last week, Michael, with the CEO and president of a franchise opportunity called Desert Moon, Gary Okigrasso, he spoke about you for like 10 minutes during the show. I mean, it's just amazing the impact that you've had in the franchise community. I mean, your name comes up every other show.
Thank you. And, you know, I don't know 90% of these people, so I hear
from
what guy this guy says and this guy says and that guy. It's really quite extraordinary to me because I don't know these people.
Exactly. I can't imagine, you know, what kind of fuel you have. I mean, I don't know how you go to bed at night, Michael. I mean, changing the story you told about, you know, the young gentleman, you know, being depressed and stuff like that. I mean, the kind of fuel that you must get from that kind of situation must be incredible for you.
It is. It's absolutely extraordinary, and life is simply an array of infinite options, and they're continually showing up. Absolutely. They're constantly showing up. I can't imagine how anybody could feel limited or deprived of opportunity when there is so much more opportunity than any single one of us could possibly deal with. And I see it every single day in my mind. There's one. Why doesn't anybody do that? Why doesn't anybody do that? It's extraordinary when you begin to experience the entrepreneur within, and anybody, any single person on the face of this earth can experience it if they begin the process right. And that's what I'm committed to.
Absolutely. And the title is great, too, Michael. You know, how you added, in addition to how ordinary people create extraordinary companies without any experience to guide them. You were one of those people. I think you referenced Bill Gates, Steve Jobs, Michael Dell. I mean, all these guys really didn't have this significant experience in business. It was all based on a dream or their imagination.
Exactly. They had no experience in business. Bill Gates wasn't a business guy.
Right.
Bill Gates didn't work for a living. Bill Gates went to Harvard and then dropped out. Michael Dell didn't have any experience when he started his business. Nobody, no great entrepreneur has necessarily had any business experience at all. They simply imagined a result that they saw was absolutely needed in the world, and then they invented the answer to that problem in a business. Well, anybody can do that.
Right.
And in the book, Awakening the Entrepreneur Within, I take you step by step through the golden process through which any company can be started from scratch in your garage. And I'm essentially saying, if your car is parked in your garage, move it out and start a business.
Exactly, absolutely.
It seems like, Michael, top entrepreneurs are never satisfied. I mean, in Chapter 3 of your book, I thought it was great. You talk about you woke up one day and you had nothing to do. Personally, I mean, that's my dream, to wake up one day and have nothing to do, but just for a day before I get back to business. But, of course, yourself being a top entrepreneur, you just weren't satisfied with that. You had to, take that next step and do something great again, and that's what you did, obviously, with this book.
Yeah, well, and you got to understand, when I say I had nothing to do, I had everything to do, but I didn't have to do it.
Right.
In other words, I didn't have to go out and earn a living anymore.
True.
But I do. I didn't have to go out and speak anymore, but I do continuously. I didn't have to go out and write another book. My books are among the top 5 business books ever published in the world. E-Myth Revisited sells more books every year than it sold before. Wow. It's the most extraordinary phenomenon. So I didn't have to do anything. There's nothing that caused me to go out and create the dreaming room other than my fertile imagination. And I'm simply saying, what an extraordinary place to live in the imagination, because one can begin to imagine a world unlike the world we live in and then take it upon yourself to invent it. And that's all it is, inventing it. Everybody invents every single day of their life. The problem is most of us invent the past.
True.
I'm about inventing the future.
Right. And this book precedes the E-Myth, Michael, so I guess everybody who has read the E-Myth is going to have to read Awakening the Entrepreneur Within as well.
Your lips to God's ears.
There you go.